Hi, I'm Elizabeth at Literary Princess, and today I am doing a video of happy Victorian recommendations. And I put happy in quotation marks for a reason. We'll talk about that in a second. This video was requested a while ago by a subscriber named Amy, and I was like, yeah, I'll take a look and see what I can come up with, because Victorians can be kind of depressing people. And for a really long time, I was just like, stumped. Because a lot, again, even the ones that I consider like happy because they have a happy ending, like North and South or Jane Eyre, are ultimately not very happy. There's a lot of depressing stuff that happens in them. Same with like Oliver Twist or David Copperfield. Like, people die a lot in Victorian literature. And some of the books are more uplifting than others. Like Dickens is considerably more funny than Hardy, usually. But they're still like, I wouldn't necessarily label them happy. And so I was really thinking about this for a while, and I decided that Victober would be the perfect time to do this. So I hope some of these recommendations work. Let's jump into them. Actually, no. Let's first talk about how I'm defining happy. So as I said, Victorian novels, you often cover a really wide range of emotions. Like there can be very happy things, and then there's very depressing things. Much more so than we see in Regency fiction like Jane Austen or Maria Edgeworth. So when I am saying these are happy, I'm not necessarily saying that they are free from sad moments, although I think I've tried pretty hard to keep them fairly free of sad moments. But they might be still dealing with death and dealing with war, but the overall impression of them is kind of happy or funny and enjoyable and not depressing. Like I'm not recommending Ruth by Elizabeth Gaskell or Jude the Obscure by Thomas Hardy, because those are not happy whatsoever. But let's jump right into this. So first one is Vanity Fair by William Makepeace Thackeray. So this is a satire set in the Napoleonic Wars. It mostly follows our heroine, Becky Sharp, who is a social climbing governess and a terrible person and just an absolutely enjoyable and wonderful main character. So, as I said, this is set during the Napoleonic Wars, so there is death in here. Like, there are a few moments that are relatively sad. However, because it is a satire, and Thackeray is just kind of mercilessly making fun of people, those moments don't really stand out. You're more laughing about Becky's shenanigans or whatever ridiculous things one character or another is doing. So the overall impression is that it is happy. Even though, again, our main character is not a very good person and there's some bad stuff that happens, but it is hilarious. It left me in a good mood, not in a depressing mood like Jude the Obscure did. And overall, it's just really enjoyable. It's long. I will say that. It is very long because it's a Victorian book. But overall, very upbeat, very funny. Next up is Barchester Towers by Anthony Trollope. Anthony Trollope wrote a ton of books. This is the second one in his Chronicles of Barsetshire. And this is also in some ways satirizing society, but in a much more toned down way than Thackeray. More on a Jane Austen level, although even a little more toned down than her in many ways. But this follows the city of Barchester as they get a new bishop and there is a power struggle within the clergy. And first of all, there are no major deaths in this. This is like the only Victorian novel I can think of with no deathbed scene. There is a death, like there's, I think, 2 deaths in it, but they're not anybody we know. So, and this is overall just like watching these people be ridiculous and laughing about it. And it's very quiet, very toned down, very enjoyable read. And Eleanor's amazing. She is the daughter of the former warden of the hospital, and her brother-in-law, the archdeacon, is a dick, and there's a great plot line with her and everybody, multiple men vying for her hand and her not even realizing it, and then everybody in town having an opinion on whether she'll marry this guy or not. And it turns out she never even thought of that. She hates the guy. She doesn't want anything to do with him, and she's just utterly offended. It's great. But yes, very happy overall. It has a very happy ending, and it's just a nice, quiet, enjoyable time. Very similar to Trollope is Margaret Oliphant. I picked Miss Marjoribanks for this one just because that's personally my favorite. But, you know, ignore the ugly sticker. I hate that sticker. It's so ugly. But anyway, Miss Marjoribanks follows Lucilla Marjoribanks as she returns home from school to her town of Carlingford and tries to remake society in what she thinks is the perfect way. And I mean, watching her throw her parties and just kind of, I don't want to say manipulate society into what she wants it to be, but kind of mold everything into the way she wants it is just such a joy and a pleasure to read about. It's so much fun. There is a major death in here toward the end, I will warn you, but the overall effect of the book is happy, quiet, a little bit of parodying society, very, like I said, very similar to Trollope. She's like kind of the female Trollope, and it's just great. And honestly, a lot of her books would have worked for this, but Miss Marjoribanks, honestly, just because Lucilla is so much fun, always strikes me as the happiest of the ones I have read. Next up, we actually have a play. This is The Importance of Being Earnest by Oscar Wilde. So this deals with 2 men who are pretending to be a man named Earnest, and neither of them is a man named Earnest, and Earnest does not exist, and they are both like wooing these women and claiming to be Earnest when neither of them are. It's just so funny. It's hysterical. Wilde is making fun of high society, and it's just a great time. I would love to see it performed. I've said that in my wrap-up where I talked about it, but it is hysterical. Will leave you laughing. And last up, I have Kim by Rudyard Kipling. So Kipling's best known for the Jungle Books, which would actually probably fit here as well. I just haven't read them in full, so I usually don't recommend things I haven't read in full. But Kim is the story of a young orphaned boy who is just kind of raised doing whatever he wants in India, and the adventures he goes on. He goes off on this pilgrimage with a llama. He ends up running into his father's old regiment, is forced to go into school, starts like doing secret spy work for the military, and it's overall just a really good time. There might be one kind of sad scene in here, but I don't remember, even though I just read this fairly recently. But overall, it's just like a fun time following Kim around as he gets up to ridiculous things. So yeah, overall, a very happy book. So those are my happy Victorian recommendations. Let me know down in the comments below. Have you read any of these? What do you think? What Victorian books do you consider happy? It has been great chatting with you. I will see you soon. Bye.